Gamers, gals, non-binary pals, we return from the Twitch office, where I've been let in by my very wonderful friend Maria after I begged her to let me in because Mark is on vacation. Anyways, we gotta return to our React roots someday. We had a little too many discussions. We had a little too many hot takes where I said some very questionable things about the efficacy of floodgates and whether or not they're ethical. And today we're gonna be watching These Yu-Gi-Oh cards were terrible until they weren't. Shout out to Trident Dragon. I'm sorry that you guys have no friends or stack no paper, but if you want to afford a Trident Dragon, all you gotta do is hit up the casino. Just spend your life savings there. You will win. Think about it, chat. You can only lose 100% of your investment, but your winnings can be limitless. We're gonna create generational wealth with generations of React videos. First, this video was brought to you guys by Imperium Duelist. Imperium makes some of the best Yu-Gi-Oh accessories and apparel, full stop. In fact, I religiously used their Cherubim oversleeves for over a year at one point. And speaking of accessories, we've come together to create the Hoppin' Around playmat. You're all my little drama frogs, and I wanted to create a piece of art that is actually some form of usable merch. It comes in two colors, monochrome and hot pink, which is my favorite color by the way, and I am in love with how they turned out, both the single and two-player variants. Pick up a playmat, be sure to use my code Stevie10 on all products for their site for a 10% off discount, and be sure to tag us when yours comes in. So, let's get into the video.
Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka and we are back with another Twitter thread. Today we're talking about cards that were bad and then became good. Cards that got a glow up over the course of Yu-Gi-Oh's history. And I'm beginning with one of my favorites, Terraforming. Despite what some of the individuals in the comments would have you believe, this card was not particularly powerful at first release. Its use case was searching Necro Valley, which was admittedly okay in Gravekeeper. As the power of field spells ramped up, it became unbelievably strong. I remember a time when this card was the cornerstone of field spell control, one of the coolest decks in Yu-Gi-Oh's history.
All I'm gonna say is if you guys remember from like 10 centuries ago where FBT had that one deck profile where he was like, trust me guys, AFD is back, it's time to play Field Spell Control, the greatest deck of our generation. That's when I knew my goat was washed. It was so crazy seeing this man be so wrong about so many archetypes over the years. But I still love you, Joseph, sometimes.
At least it was crazy by 2010 when they had Dragon's Ravine. Let's see what you all came up with. Meow says 2009, banish a card until your opponent's next end phase. What a waste of 2,000 life points. Games last far longer than 3 turns. 2022 to 2023, your best card is gone. A Pointer of the Red Lotus was good for a number of reasons, but I think the real stealth reason this card was broken is it gave you perfect information about what your opponent was playing and like what tools they had at their disposal. It's actually crazy it took that long for this card to be seen as broken. I think as early as like 2017, this card was unbelievably powerful.
The main reason why like a pointer wasn't that good before is because games didn't last that long. People were playing Mind Crush back then, but hand knowledge is disgustingly broken in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I remember I was watching a Ryan Yu deck profile where he was like, even if you were like Eradicator someone and you only get like one spell out of their hand, turns out just like having the perfect knowledge on what to pop, when and where is so valuable. A pointer is also worse than Max Eve's Legal. Well, everything's worse than Max Eve's Legal.
Good answer out of RJ. Surprised to not see Deck Lockdown on here. This card was the epitome of Potential Man. For so long, it was the 4th best side deck card against Glads. Now everybody's worried about it. The reason Deck Lockdown is now receiving scrutiny once again is because, well, they banned everything else. I remember losing to this Agov format. People started boarding it en masse. I think you're going to see a lot of this card. I think it's going to be not as destructive as something like Summon Limit was, but still pretty strong.
I'm going to say it. This card is not going to be very strong. This card is funny. If you draw it, it's going to be bad every other scenario.
Hopefully, it will be banned. This wasn't a grenade. It was a ticking time bomb. People love to post Smoke Grenade of the Thief, and they are correct. This is meant to be some sort of payoff for a silly little combo, but it turns out if the silly little combo is accessible every single setup, it's super good. Wow, we're like 3 in and we've already done 2 hand drip cards. I wonder what that means. I wish correct. This card was pennies on release, was in bulk until people started using it competitively, and Dragon Ruler went from 25 cents to $25, the most hated card in the game until its banning. Special Summon Floodgates are a weird kind of card because cards like this and Royal Oppression really did have to hit a sweet spot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just evolving enough for them to be unbanned. unbelievable. Went from a 1-for-1 beater to oops, found this out of my top 5. Now I have full combo through Nibiru. This is one of those cards that was benefited by an archetype that supported it in Adamancipator. But it always felt like it theoretically could have been pretty good. You know, in a deck that doesn't need its normal summon, you can slap this down and then you don't lose to Ash. Was so frustrating against Adamancipator because, like, there were a ton of hands where, like, you're like, okay, I've opened, like, Ash plus Nibiru. That should be enough to stop the full end board. Unless they randomly hit Koakai Meiru Guardian, in which case I lose.
Koakai Meiru Guardian was what dreams were made of. When I was playing, like, competitively, by the way, when I was still on, like, Luxury / Playmakers, I was farming remote duel extravaganzas or, like, remote duel day events or whatever the fuck it was called before we actually had, like, remote duel YCSs with Adamancipator. Adamancipator at that time was so fucking disgusting. A single Koakai Meiru Guardian plus Researcher was just combo through fucking anything and everything. There was nothing your opponent could do just because of, like, how good of a normal summon Guardian was if your hand was good enough. The fact that Researcher was broken. Adamancipator at that time was just incomprehensibly broken. But by God, I remember one time I was playing Adamancipator and I got hand trapped 4 times. Ash, Imperm, Nibiru, and then it just didn't matter because the last card in my hand was Block Dragon, and I just went full wombo combo, and they couldn't do anything because guess what? If you resolve a Block Dragon, that's still fucking like 4 cards you end up with.
Memorization required very specific board states to be able to use your opponent's monsters as fusion material, and often required a lot of extra deck planning to play. Now, because of Garura and Mud Dragon, you have an 80% of being able to clear your opponent's most troublesome cards, but importantly, Yu-Gi-Oh! Also had to evolve to the point where you were just summoning a bunch of monsters, and removing them from the field automatically won you the game. When rulers were showing up in Japan, I spent a full day digging these out of my bulk in my mom's basement to sell for $10 a piece at a common. There's an elegance to rulers, but Rejuve can't be a part of it. This is a strange one because it absolutely required, like, a master rule change, but as soon as it became profitable to just have tokens on your side of the field, yeah, this was a problem. No, once per turn, bounce it with a Kashik, summon it again. God, who remembers this? There's a whole parade of literally who cards that no one ever thought about twice until a branded player decided to expulsion or sanctify the card onto their field. I will push back on this a little bit insofar as it wasn't branded players' fault that these cards got discovered. People have been experimenting with donating to your opponent since, well, the card Donate got printed in Magic the Gathering. We've given them enough Nightmare Iblis to understand that giving a bad monster is good. But it wasn't until a very specific deck in Duel Links that would go through a convoluted combo to give your opponent a copy of Ra's Disciple was discovered that people started thinking, wow, some of these self-floodgates have unintended consequences. One unfortunate part of making these threads is getting to experience the linear passage of time as it occurs. People posting Divine Sword Phoenix Blade makes me realize some of you started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2016. So yes, Divine Sword Phoenix Blade was broken, and you're probably thinking about it in the context of Isold, where it would be sent to the graveyard and then be nigh infinite material for whatever discard outlet you want, or maybe some sort of Goki setup. But prior to that, it was broken in a lot of silly YouTube FTKs that looped Primal Seed, and prior to that, in the beautiful year of 2007, was Airblade Turbo. This card has been broken longer than a lot of you have been alive. Instant Fusion on release was not really played at all. With the ability of hindsight, we can see that, like, yeah, there are some formats where it's pretty good just as a mechanism to get either tribute material or 5-star monsters on your side of the field to facilitate, like, 8-star synchros really early. But as more fusion monsters were released, this changed from, oh, it's like half of a 2-card setup to this card is not only full combo on its own, it is full combo through 8 billion points of interaction.
I fucking hate Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is one of just the most degenerate fucking cards out there. I think my first interaction with this fucking thing was when I was playing during, like, Toss format, when Blind Second Orchist was a thing. And they would just go, like, Instant Fusion, summon, like, Thousand Eyes Restrict, and I'd just be like, fuck, I guess I have to Widowmaker here. Like, Thousand Eyes Restrict cleared any fucking board on its own, or traded for 1 point of interaction, like, guaranteed. And even if it was just, like, soft negated through, like, an Imperm or something, guess what? Still a free body, free link material, make a Cerberus, or a Phoenix. Also, Instant Fusion summoned fucking Rocket Ride. Who the fuck designed that shit?
Restrict was already banned when this was released, and hilariously, I remember the first thing people trying to do when it got unbanned was get it off Instant Fusion. People were playing Instant Fusion as a removal spell after Thousand Eyes Restrict was unbanned. Wave of Light is considered to be one of the worst structures we've ever received, but it did contain a card that would in 3 years' time make Herald Drytron a contender. You know what's funny about this card? All of the cards that it searched were, like, around, right? Like, oh god, get a couple of Herald of the Orange Lights. Like, you were, like, you can do that. This isn't a bad one. Given how bad the fusion mechanic was, fusion monsters and polymerization, it's a miracle that Konami was able to support it to the point where Poly still sees play in competitive strategies today. Yeah, this is a card that does nothing. It just reads minus yourself. And somehow it is still a top tier playable card in a number of strategies and has been for years.
Okay, I don't know if I'd say top tier or meta playable, but it's definitely kind of funny. Sometimes in like very certain hands and very certain formats is so disgustingly broken. Poly plus 2 kids was unironically unbeatable. Like, you could not fucking beat that shit. Poly with like 2 tier names, go home, bro. The match is over.
Convulsion of Nature was always a meme in my play group until Spirals came out and made it viable. You know what? I think you can, this part right here, at the time, you could just get that out of there. One of the very few upsides to Yu-Gi-Oh's non-rotating format is that some of these cards do get a second lease on life. And it's cool to see what we thought was bad years ago be dominating in metagames afterwards. Now, I hope I never have to read any of your just obviously incorrect posts again.
Anyways, let me know what your favorite boomer card of all time is. Wait, what the fuck? Why do you still have like 2 minutes? What the fuck? What happened? Watch the credits?
This card was never bad. This card was broken immediately. People were trying to break this the second it came out. Another one of these answers. Dog, what are you talking about? Written by someone born in 2014. No, people were playing this card too. She was not a completely useless card. Guru decks played this forever. What are the best possible things you could rank up a spent Dante into? Real heads know we were playing Lullaby of Obedience, calling Dino Wrestler Pankratops every single Hulk tuner. Yeah, I mean, when would Glow Up Bulb ever be good? This was the most hyped card that released in the same year as every single Gumblar combo deck. Chat, Marimare wasn't some card we discovered in bulk. It was printed in Inov. Like, Yazi had been out for years by the time we got this card. It was so crazy on release, there's no way. Who can remember the insanely mid card Makiora the Destructor, the Day Zero FTK? They're in the same structure as the rest of the fucking Chaos Dragon cards. Are you of the...
What the fuck was that? Ain't no fucking... Whoa, I gotta fucking...
They're in the same structure as the rest of the fucking Chaos Dragon cards.
No fucking way, dude. This has to be fucking bait. This has to have been fucking bait, bro. I mean, you could argue that Baron wasn't very good because it was hard to summon in a deck that wasn't named Adamantipator, but what the fuck?
Are you of the opinion that this card was ever bad? You're gonna tell me Scapegoat wasn't ever good? It came to us limited. Signet Mining was immediately broken. A joke played for the free this was like one of the best trap cards of all time for like a decade. Not true. Wow. This is just literally not true. Are you of the opinion that Dandelion was a bad card?
Okay, Dandelion technically wasn't that good. If you go through like revisionist psychopath history, then it wasn't that good until Lynx. But like, oh my god, what the fuck are these people smoking?
Or Link summoning. Okay. I don't know if I can do this, man. I don't think I can finish this one out. I feel like I'm losing my fucking marbles here.
Oh, that was a good one. That video was kind of mid until like the end credits, and I just saw MBT viewers at their fullest peak. Let me know what your favorite MBT viewer is, chat. And yeah, I'll watch you guys in the next comment section. Bye-bye.